Hey y'all, it's Ashley with another layout for the March 2014 Hip Kit. Um, this is our mood board for the March layout challenge, and what inspired me were those stitches, the feather, the chevron arrow, and the stamp, and then of course the photo booth there at the bottom, the photo booth strip there at the bottom. So I'm going to start with that, and I'm going to go ahead and show you guys. Sometimes I use this technique where I map my photos onto white cardstock to get a white border, just because sometimes I've already printed them and I end up wanting a white border. In this case, I did this on purpose because I wanted to show how to get a film strip, and I don't have Photoshop. I also don't have like a template or anything where I can print a photo strip, and so I went ahead and decided to make my own, and it ended up being a lot easier because I ended up printing just 3x3 photos and doing my own. So this is the Amy Tan paper from her Plus One collection, and I'm using that plus sign paper because it reminds me of those stitches, and that's one of the things that I chose. That was one of the first things I knew I was going to use as I was looking through my box of the Hip Kit supplies. So now I'm cutting down some of this Dear Lizzie paper, and what I'm doing is I'm cutting about, I think it's about 2-inch, maybe my photos are 2x2, I'm sorry. I'm cutting about 2-inch squares, and what I'm going to do is sort of make my own chevron arrows, and that's what I'm doing right now. And I'm using that as an element just to kind of draw your eye from the bottom lower corner of the page to the top lower corner. And I'm also going to end up stitching those down, and you'll see that here in a little while. You won't see me stitch them, but you'll see the finished product here in a little while. So I'm going to finish cutting those. Some of them I didn't like. Some of them I cut a little too thin. And so I just put those away, but the ones that I do like, I did keep. And I guess I could have done more colors, but I did want to try to, I wanted this layout to be different, and I didn't want it to be as bright as some of my other layouts, and so I stuck with the lighter pink and then this aqua, I guess, color, and then I throw some, of course, some red and some gold here in a little while. So I've already cut some feathers. You guys may have seen my last layout. I used some feathers in that layout, and these are cut from that, and this is from the cardstock we received in the kit. And so what I'm going to do is, of course I love the yellow color, but in the mood board it kind of shows almost a golden like color for the feather, and I did want to mimic that, so that's what I'm doing here. And I finished the rest, and I edited those out, and they're drying right now. So now I'm using this stamp from the Amy Tangerine stamp set that was just released and we got in our kits. And I love this stamp, and I love that it reminds me of the handmade stamp in the mood board, which is why I chose to do this. And I was a little, I didn't really look at this before and kind of test out my paper, which is why I just pulled it to see if it would work. And that was a little brave for me, I think, but I did end up liking it, and I really didn't even know if I would like the gray instead of using like black, because all the other elements, like when I do the stitching, it's going to be black. But I do like this. I think the black would have been too bold for the stamp, and ended up looking for this particular page. Other pages I probably would have done black, but I do like that it added a little bit of a softness in the background. So I'm kind of looking to see how I'm going to put my page together, and I went ahead and stitched those arrows down, and I went ahead and stitched the feathers to give them an extra touch as well. So I'm going to cut off all of the extra thread that's hanging out. My voice is cracking. It's because I'm doing it in the morning. And then I'm going to add my own sprinkles or mist to the page. And I'm using this classic gold leafing paint that I got at Hobby Lobby that I've said this before, but Craft and Kate, who's also a design team member on YouTube for the Hip Kits, she had bought some of that, and then I bought it as well, and I really like it, and I almost like it better than Gold Lame as like the sprinkle effect. So I'm going to take some VersaFine ink and I do like the way that turned out. I'm going to go ahead and cut this, but I don't end up using it. So I do change it up here in a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and continue to cut that out. And then I've sped it up a little bit so that you guys don't have to watch me fussy cut. And I don't like fussy cutting anyway. And then I'm going to try to put my layout together. And I'm liking the way that looks. I'm just thinking the black and white photo strip is too much, or the darling piece is too much with the black and white photo strip. So I do end up using that same stamp, but I just, you'll see how I change that up here in a second. So that says Insta Love, and that's the badge from the Daily Flash collection for October afternoon. And then I'm trying to adhere everything down. And that feather wasn't working with me, but I do end up using some dimensional adhesive on that. So now I am looking to see what letters I want to use with the piece that says Darling. I'm going to go ahead and adhere that feather down. And I keep going back to that because I know that I want to change it. So what I did was I went ahead and used Versamark ink and some gold embossing powder. And I love how this turned out because it did end up bringing out the rest of that gold that I had added to the paper. So I'm going to first I'm going to just cut this with my trimmer. I'm going to try to get out of fussy cutting it. And then I realized that I just have to end up fussy cutting it because it didn't fit where I wanted it to. And I do kind of want it to nest up with the picture, or nest against, and it just wouldn't do that when it was cut like a rectangle. So I did go ahead and fussy cut that so that it would fit right up against the picture the way that I wanted to. So now I'm taking some of these Embellishing puffy stickers, and I use the one that says Good Life. And then I'm looking for a particular button in there, and I'm looking for the one that says Love, and so I'll pull that here in a second, but I'm using the Dear Lizzie enamel dots right now to add some pieces to the clusters where the feathers are. And then here's where I find the button that I want. And I pull for, those are also Dear Lizzie, and I pull for this two-way glue pen that I knew ahead of time wasn't going to work. And then I ended up having to reach for my glue dots to stick that on. And I should have just done that from the very beginning. I was just being a little lazy. So I get that where I want it without covering up any of the picture. And then of course I made a mess with the glue pen, so I had to clean that up. And then I'm taking these Daily Flash stickers, and I'm looking for something to add to those chevron arrows because they don't have a pattern on them, and while I like them without a pattern, I wanted to add a little something to them along with the mist there at the top and the bottom. So I took some of those hearts and stars, and then I took this piece that says Love, the sticker from the Daily Flash collection, and then these October afternoon stickers that I'm using right now, that I'm using for the My part of my title, are from the February kits, and everything else is from the March kits, but I did think that those were the perfect size, so I went ahead and pulled those. And then I used the tab from these stickers that I'm using right now. Then I'm going to add one last element to the page, and then I'm going to switch out that yellow heart there at the top with the red heart because I ended up bringing a little bit of red into the page, and I wasn't expecting to do that. And so just so that it would all come together, I switched out that heart. So now we're coming to the end of the layout. I hope you guys enjoyed, and if you have any questions, let me know. And if you joined in the challenge, I would love to see your layouts. And if you didn't, I would love to see you join in with us for the upcoming months. Have a great week.